Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. It is time to discuss whether or not Chelsea FC are still in the title race. Before we get into it today, I do want to ask you to subscribe, and if you could hit the like button on today's video, that is the easiest way that you guys can help me and support the channel. Chelsea, the last two matches, I feel as though it's been ever since we hit 100 episodes of 6 Things We Learned, which was the Everton game, and then the next one against Wolves, it's gone from being one massive party where everybody is thinking that Chelsea could win the league. Even rival fans that may have thought that we might not have been playing very well or we weren't going to keep it going. Frank Lampard's too naive as a manager. Even rival fans a week ago were considering Chelsea heavily within the title race. And if now, I'll put the Premier League table up on the screen and I'm going to take a look at it myself on the phone. Liverpool are top of the league after beating Spurs with 28 points. Spurs are there on 25. Southampton and Leicester doing incredibly well on 24. Everton, they've picked up again with 2 wins in a row, 23. Manchester United, 23 with a game in hand, which is a problem. Chelsea are down in 7th with 22 points, just 1 point and 1 place ahead of West Ham, who we face on Monday. Now, when you also look at it, you've got Manchester City, who have a game in hand, and say they win that, they go above Chelsea. Aston Villa have 2 games in hand on us as well, and if they pick up 4 points in those 2 games, they also go ahead of Chelsea too, which means that despite the brilliant start to the season, despite 1 week ago, the conversation about Chelsea being involved in a title race, we could now, if results don't go our way, be in the middle of the table, which, to be quite honest, considering the quality of players that we've brought in, would actually be as big of a joke to most of the footballing world as Arsenal being in a relegation scrap. I think that's the kind of level that we set ourselves in the early stages of the season. Yes, we had a couple of bad draws. We dropped points in matches we should have been winning, and then we lost the last 2 against decent opponents. But if Chelsea want to win the Premier League this season, you cannot afford to go 2 away games in a row and not just get nothing in terms of points from the game, but it was also the nature of the performances that are incredibly worrying moving forward for Frank Lampard's Chelsea. Now, we've obviously got to address that we made a lot of new signings, and a lot of people in the footballing world seem to think that if you make a lot of new signings, it will click immediately, particularly when there's been absolutely no pre-season. There's been no pre-season for any of the other clubs as well. It's not like Chelsea are in a unique situation, but when we look at what we did last season, it was very difficult in the Premier League because Liverpool were so far ahead of the curve right from the offset. So in terms of a title conversation, the fact that Chelsea are still involved in the conversation despite these last 2 games is a positive. That is growth, but it's not all down to us. You know, we were beaten by Liverpool. Even though we didn't play badly, we were beaten relatively convincingly. Liverpool are back at the top of the league again. They're firing. They've got their strikers fit again. And we were just coming into a bit of form. You know, we were 17 games unbeaten. Yes, there are a couple of draws in there in matches that we should have been winning. West Brom and Southampton are the notable ones. But Chelsea were one of, and if we would have won both of those games, we would have been top of the league. That is how tight things are right now in the Premier League. So, bringing it back to what I was saying about players not having pre-seasons, new signings coming in. If we start from the back, Mendy, Silva, Chilwell, Havertz, Ziyech, Werner. That is a lot of footballers to try and fit into a side, to try and gel together. It's never the easiest thing when someone comes in, when it's multiple players that have been brought in to take immediately first 11 positions. It was always going to be tough. And I think what we've seen is that when everybody is fit and this Chelsea team are firing and players can play in their favoured roles, we look really good. We can score a lot of goals. We seem to have fixed the defensive problem that kept on coming to bite us at the beginning of the season and all of last season. And in the last 2 games where Hakim Ziyech has been out, Hudson-Odoi's been out, Pulisic, he was good against Wolves in that first half in particular, but he missed the game at Everton. It's been hard for Chelsea to come to the same kind of form that we were in those games where we weren't losing, because so much of the shape of the team was dependent on having natural wingers. I saw a picture posted on social media yesterday, which is kind of funny, and when you look at it, it's like nobody can really deny that the Chelsea lineup actually does look a little bit like this when it's out on the field. We get caught on counter-attacks still, but in terms of dominating possession in the play, the majority of Chelsea's play this season has been within the opposition half, and it does look a little bit like this image on the screen. Now what you can see here is a lot of players out in wide positions. When you eliminate the actual wide players who are natural in those positions from this team, the shape completely changes, Chelsea look void of creativity and ideas, and you wonder where the best chances are going to come from. At the same time, as well as this whole plan of going out to the wing, putting it in the box was working, Chelsea also need to be able to do something from the middle. We want to see players like Mateo Kovacic, Kai Havertz when he's playing and he is in the middle. We want to see these players driving at the defences, not always thinking about that predictable pass out to the winger, because I feel as though the last 2 games have shown that teams are starting to read that kind of play from Chelsea. It's becoming a little bit easier to know what Chelsea are going to do. You know that Ben Chilwell's going to overlap. You know that Reece James is going to try and overlap too. And I mentioned it in my preview for the game against Wolves. I thought that Frank Lampard might have needed to try a different formation to actually create a shape which did give Chelsea more options to focus play through the middle of the park. We've got a wonderful ball winner in N'Golo Kante. We've got brilliant dribblers in Mason Mount, Kovacic, players that can split defences ahead of them with a decent pass through. And at the moment, particularly with Hudson-Odoi and Ziyech still out, Ziyech could be fit for the game at West Ham, by the way, which is big news. And I think if we really pinpoint it down to what Chelsea have been missing in these last 2 games, the key thing for me is Hakim Ziyech. I think he brings that natural wit. He's got that moment of brilliance. He can put balls into the box frequently, similar to what Reece James does. I don't want to spend the whole video talking about Timo Werner and Kai Havertz being the players that are underperforming and that is the complete problem. I think the majority of the problem right now, Chelsea in the last 2 games became so predictable that against good solid sides like both Everton and Wolves, they managed to counter our play because it was very predictable as to what was going to happen, and they had the quality to hurt us. Now we look at the big games. We drew 0-0 against Manchester United, 0-0 against Spurs. We were beaten by Liverpool. We've still got to play City, and these are not going to be easy games either. This is really where, after these games, particularly the Arsenal game, the City game, this is when we're going to find out if this Chelsea team are in the title race. We need to pick up points against the teams that we're going to be competing against. And at the moment, if we bring back up that Premier League table, the whole purpose of this video was for me to really say whether Chelsea are still in the title race or not. And I think for the majority of it, I've focused on what's gone wrong and why we're currently not top of the league. But the fact of the matter is, Chelsea is still very much in the title race. Manchester United have got themselves back in the title race, and it was only a couple of weeks ago that we were all laughing at them about how poor they were playing, how they keep conceding goals, and how their defence is a shambles. Their defence still might be a little bit of a shambles at times, but they're scoring goals and they're winning matches, and I think it's like 10 away wins in the Premier League in a row now. So we got to take Manchester United seriously too. Liverpool's win against Spurs puts them 3 points clear at the top. That could have been a breakthrough result for Liverpool. We just got to hope, with Chelsea's inconsistency, with everybody else's inconsistency, that isn't the spiral result for Liverpool to actually go and do what they did last season and dominate the Premier League from start to finish. We're 13 games in, we're only 6 points off the top, and people that are writing off Chelsea right now I think would be foolish, because it literally was just a week ago that everyone was talking about how good we were playing, how solid we looked at the back, how the new players were starting to come together, and everything was looking good. And I think it would be far too early to write this Chelsea team off. I'm seeing so many Chelsea fans saying we've absolutely screwed it up. There's no chance we can go on another run and challenge for this league. I think that would be very premature to say, and we've really got to focus now on finishing December. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think we need to win every game between now and the end of this month to really be back in the title race. It's not going to be easy. There are some very tough fixtures in there, but if Chelsea want to be in that conversation, we've got to put this two bad games behind us and go out there next time and start again. So how do I think we're going to do that? I still think we need to change something. If we can't get these wingers back to full fitness and in the starting 11 come this game against West Ham, who are a very good side, who are playing very well indeed, then I think it's time for Frank to try something new. I would love to know what you guys have to say about that in the comments. Would you go with 2 strikers? Would you try something different? If you would, let me know what it is you would try in the comments down below, and I'll take a little look through, analyse if I think it could work or not leading up to that game against West Ham on Monday night. But thank you guys for watching. As I said at the beginning, if you're not yet subscribed to GBFC, please do so, and be sure to like this video if you did enjoy it. There'll be a brand new one out tomorrow. See you guys there. Come on, you Blues.